Hey folks, welcome to my Rustic Tiny. Today I'm going to be putting zip tape flashing around my window openings. I've already put liquid flashing around them, but I wanted to do a kind of belt and suspenders approach to making sure they're very well sealed in, because I'm very much a beginner and I don't want my house to leak and have bad things happen. I've watched various videos on how to do this taping, but none of them had the 2-inch bucks to tape around, and so I've kind of had to figure out the process, tweak it a little bit as I go. I've done 3 windows so far on this house today, and this is my 4th, so I'm just going to show my process so far. Now first, I'm going to put a layer of this regular zip flashing tape underneath this bottom sill, and I've been lining it up even with this bottom edge, because that still leaves plenty to wrap in here and then down onto the sheathing. To properly flash something for better drainage, it's important to work from bottom to top, outside to inside with the various layers. I'm going to go a couple inches past all of the openings, whether it's this way. When I do this tape, I'm going to go slightly down past it another couple inches. In order for there not to be a big gap right at the corner, I'm holding the bottom of the tape away from the surface as I get in there into the seam. This putty knife is pretty helpful for that. You always want to make sure to roll the tape. You can see that the space under there has very good coverage, and when I lay the stretch tape over it, it's going to come around here and stretch back to about there to have that shingling effect of the tape for better drainage. Ideally, the stretch tape is supposed to come up 5 or 6 inches on each side of this windowsill. So I'm going to measure, this is 36.5 inches. So I'm going to add about 10 inches of that to that, so I can have 5 inches up each side of the sill, and that'll give me 46.5 inches. So I'm going to cut the stretch tape to 46.5 inches. So in order to make the stretch tape process easier, I'm going to mark out where the midway point is on here, which in this case is about 18 1/4. And I'm just going to mark it out with a Sharpie. I'm also going to mark out where the 5-inch mark is up here. Again, just to have a little bit of a guideline for where the tape is going. And I'm also going to mark out a line. On the back of the stretch tape, there's 2 sections of paper that you peel back. And the wider section, there's a wider section and a narrow section. The wider one is about 3.5 inches. And so far, I've found it easier to keep the stretch tape going straight across the sill if I also mark out 3.5 inches as the top edge of where that tape will fall as I'm sticking it down. Okay, so now I've cut my stretch tape to 46.5 inches, and I'm going to very carefully peel off one of the paper backing sections, the wider one. Very sticky stuff. And I've also marked out where the midpoint of this tape is. So I'm going to lay the midway mark from the tape over the midway mark on the sill, and I'm going to line it up with those marks at the 3.5-inch point. Helps if you get it straight to begin with. I'm slightly off, but I'm just going to go with it because it's hard to reverse it at this point. And then I'm going to course correct right here on this side, now that I have two hands. Again, this putty knife comes in very handy to get a nice square corner. And now do this side. Alright, so now all that's left is the narrower strip. It's easier to peel it from the tape side because you can get the tape to stick to your finger to get it started. And I'm very carefully going to pull this other backer off. And then start stretching it. You don't want to overstretch it, but I would like to get as much overlap as I can onto the flashing tape underneath it. And if you use both hands to stretch it, you can get a more consistent pull. Alright, so we have the stretch tape on, and now we roll the stretch tape. So now the sill is deeper than the stretch tape. So I'm going to put a layer of regular zip flashing tape on the rest of the sill and just line it up with the inner edge. It maybe doesn't have to go that far in, but I'm just going to do it anyways. Zip makes wider stretch tape, but it wasn't available in my local hardware store, and also it's pretty expensive and only comes in about 20 feet per roll, so that's why I used the regular flashing tape for the second layer on the bottom sill instead of another layer of stretch tape. I think it would have been totally sufficient to just stop at the first layer of stretch tape instead of going all the way back with any type of flashing tape, but I felt like doubling up anyways just for good measure. And now we roll the tape. Next I'm going to start putting flashing tape up the sides. I'm going to start outwards and work inwards around the corner with various layers. Alright, so my next layer is going to be tape running down this seam. I'm going to do it slightly overlapping this corner and then see where that falls. Now our next layer is going to span the front of this buck and overlap onto this side, and then overlap onto the inside. Now with this little scrap of tape, I'm going to put it in the upper corner, just in case there's any little pinhole gaps in the tape. For the final piece of tape on this side, I'm going to go just inside this buck and have it just be a flat length of it down from the top corner to maybe an inch or two above the bottom, because I already have the stretch tape going up 5 inches. Alright, now we're going to repeat the process on the other side of the window opening. I am by no means suggesting that this is the one and only, or even the best way of sealing around window openings with the zip flashing tape. If anything, it's probably quite a bit of overkill, not only with how much tape I ended up using throughout the 8 windows and on each window individually, but also the fact that there was already liquid flashing all the way around each of the window openings. So if anything, I was the queen of overkill on sealing around these windows. But I just really didn't want leaky or rotting window openings or walls in my house. By far, the only actual fun part of this tape flashing process was using the stretch tape around the bottom sills and stretching those around the corner, which was pretty satisfying. But whereas the regular zip flashing tape comes in a 90-foot roll, that stretch tape only comes in a 20-foot roll and is more expensive. So I definitely did not use it as freely as I used the other tape. And yes, the regular zip flashing tape is also fairly expensive. It's about $34 for a 90-foot roll. So now I'm going to flash the top of the window buck, coming down around the inside, then going slightly more outside of that, and then finally on top, enough so that it overlaps the sheathing. So in this situation, the outside to inside rule is overruled by the fact that I have to work from bottom to top. This is a horizontal plane, so bottom to top is much more important, and it means that I have to work from inside to outside in order to accomplish that. Alright, so that's a fully flashed window. It has, like I said, the belt and suspenders of liquid flashing all the way around, inside and out, and around this threshold between the buck and the sheathing. And then it also has stretch tape and zip flashing tape all the way around it. The next step is to install the windows. So here is a window that is finished being installed. I put window sealant up both sides and across the top, but I did not put it on the bottom so that moisture and rain can drip out through the bottom and escape instead of being fully sealed in. I'm also not going to put zip tape along this bottom edge, but I'm running it along both sides and up along the top. So here you can see some of the squeeze out from the sealant, and I'm going to run a length of zip tape up each side to right about this corner, or if it can overlap just a little bit, but it's kind of hard to maneuver the thickness of that tape. And then it'll wrap all the way around to about here to seal up this whole side very nicely. So here you can see I've added the tape right into that corner of the window trim, all the way to here, this edge, all the way up. And then I made sure to roll the tape with the Zip J roller. You can see the little Z indents. And now I'll tape across the top in a very similar way. I'll have this edge come to here, maybe a little bit past, and then go all the way up and over the edge with a single piece of tape all the way across. I've already done the other side this way. And now here is the finished top edge of the window ceiling. And now I'm very happy to say that my tiny house is officially dried in. So I have all 8 windows in, I have the door installed, I have everything sealed around. I still plan to do some head flashing on the tops of the doors and windows, but I still need to look into how that installation process goes. I have the flashing inside. I just need to do more research first, but that will be the next step to put on top of these window openings in the door. And then I need to start focusing more on the inside.